I want a one-word answer to this, okay?
Okay.
Do you think Graham and Macy should have joint accounts?
Gosh.
Does it just have to be a yes or no?
One-word answer.
Yes.
Graham,
I think-
one-word answer.
I think they're... Now, this is caveat once they're married.
Okay.
Once they're married, not a second sooner.
Right, and not a second later.
I mean, they can go on the honeymoon.
On the altar.
But as soon as they're back from the honeymoon, let's
No,
combine their
I
accounts.
think we have a joint, two separates.
The his and hers.
The his and hers.
Why?
With one joint.
Why? What is the benefit to Macy and what's the benefit to you?
I think mostly the benefits to me. I mean, when you look at it objectively,
Is
but
that
honestly,
fair?
but I think it is. I think it's perfectly fair.
What does
but
she
a lot
think
of
about it?
But a lot of it is in like, certain accounts and investment brokerages that it just makes sense. It shouldn't necessarily be a joint account. It's
What
not
would
like
be the harm in
expenses.
saying, here's our joint checking, this is where we spend all of our money, and you have a line item of, hey, Macy, you can spend $500 on whatever you want. Graham gets $500.
Because she's able to do that anyway in her personal account.
So what's the difference if it's all joint?
Well, that's the joint account. Shared expenses go from that. So we still have a joint account. So she can still do that from the joint account. But she
Now-
has her money that she could spend however she wants. I'll never question
But
that.
it's not our money. Because
The-
the hot
the
take
joint-
was,
the joint account is
let's
our
say
money.
you guys have a kid, she decides to stay home. What happens?
Well, I already pay all the expenses. So it's, everything for her. She could spend it if she wants to.
Everything?
Yeah.
She could spend 10 grand a month
Yeah, if she makes her money, she decides she wants to.
if she makes her money. I said if she stayed home with a kid. She has no traditional income now. What's your take on this, Jack? What do you think they should do?
What do I think?
I-
they
here's
should
the thing,
do?
I've only seen it-
realistically, like I think you go first.
No, I've only seen it where separate accounts has caused more marital strife than it caused any blessing. I've rarely seen it. And when it does cause any blessing, it's because they've brushed it under the rug and they're like, well, we just don't talk about it. It's he does his thing, I do my thing. We have the shared account. And I'm like, you're living like roommates. Like you're like, if you're Venmoing each, if you're married and you're sending each other Venmos, you're doing it wrong. That's not a marriage. Like marriage is we are becoming one in every way, shape, and form. We're sharing a bed, we're sharing DNA, we're making babies, but we can't share a bank account. That's insane.
So two things. If I were in Graham's position, this is a big if, I'd probably want separate accounts. That's just me saying what, but I think that this is a really tough line to kind of toe. But I also think that, like, if it's me, actually me, I also at the same time, I understand like having joint, because if you just split it 50-50 with Graham's amount of money, I'd still be fine. You know what I mean? I know I'll never need the amount of money. I don't even think I would necessarily love to have one. I don't think it would improve my life to have the amount of money that Graham currently has, let alone half. You know?
Don't ever give him a raise. He said he's fine.
I try to negotiate with Jack, and he wants more.
Drives a hard bargain.
He says one thing, but he does another.
It's like, I want to make less, so I have to grind
But
harder.
I don't have half of the amount of money you have.
No. Sure.
Right? So I think that there is a difference there, but that's besides the point. I think I would be okay splitting it because I know I'd be fine with half, but it would be extremely hard to part with that money. That's obviously worst case scenario. I don't even think that should be in question relative to the sadness of splitting with a partner that you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with. But I don't know. I think like for me in my current state, I'd probably be fine joint. But then again, like I'm not Graham. I don't have the amount of money Graham has. So I think it's different. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Yeah.
And also like the money isn't necessarily something that you're like you're putting a value on the relationship. It's just like, hey, I worked extremely hard for this, and this is something that I just prefer to keep to myself. Like there are secrets, sure, that people will go into marriage with. It's inevitable. You can say, oh, you should talk about everything. You don't, right? There are certain things that you'll just hold to yourself till the day you die. And that's totally fine. And people are different. And if someone has a different value, and if it works for a certain couple, then it works. You could look at statistics and all available data and say, oh, it generally doesn't work. But I think that there are also going to be exceptions to the statistics.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So-
It's not saying that Graham and Macy won't have a long, healthy, happy marriage. Of
course.
I just think there's less of a chance, less risk of, financial infidelity, as we call it, where there's a lack of transparency and I didn't know, and there's resentment building up. Because again, if she stays home or has a much lower income and it's now unfair because Graham makes this, that it just causes more awkwardness in the relationship.
I understand. I think that's where the transparency comes in. And I think that's like the key to it all is being completely honest with each other. So in my current life, I probably would have joint accounts, but I actually, this is one of the few things where I understand the way that Graham's brain works.
That's fair.
Very few things. I'm
that's
like,
fair.
why do you think the way that you do?
People love
and this I actually get
when
it.
you guys were on my YouTube channel. People love the relationship talk, and they also thought Jack was a very eligible bachelor.
Yeah,
there
they
in
did.
the YouTube comments.
Jack, find someone from
I was
George's
having a good
channel.
hair day.
Seriously,
That's why.
dude.
That was a
That's
good
why.
hair
That
day.
was a
having
good
hair
hair
day.
And you know what?
To be fair,
I did
Yeah.
a blow dryer.
You did a blow dryer?
I
Did you use my strategy?
didn't do a blow
Didn't.
dryer.
You didn't. I told you the
I
blow
used the
dryers
blow
are
dryer.
bad.
I used it that day. And it
I
looked
think it's
great.
time. I told you I was gonna give you a little quaff to see what it looks like up there.
No,
Unwilling?
I'm unwilling.
And you know what's hilarious?
Dang it.
I used a blow dryer on the podcast we did with Dr. John
Yeah?
Delaney. Worst hair I've ever had.
Oh.
You gotta learn how to use the
there's
blow
something,
dryer.
yeah, something
We'll get you
between
strategy.
the two.
You know, we're gonna
heat
get this thing
setting or
dialed in
something.
where every day it's super consistent.
Yeah,
That's
I
what-
would buy a course if you could maybe craft. one
That's
up.
my new course. It's
Yeah.
not going to be about money. It's about how to care for your hair.
right
How much would you pay?
for your course.
Yeah, more than you'd pay for a gallon of Graham's bathwater, hopefully.
Do you accept credit? Because then I'd probably pay a little bit more.
Well,
I'll
crypto. Do
take
you take
crypto.
crypto?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
If you donated crypto for the course, I would take it.
$20.
That way, because I never
$20.
bought crypto. I was donated crypto
Yeah.
from Jack.
There we go.
I like the hairstyle you had that was similar to mine. Remember that? You got a haircut that was like very.
He just wants me
similar.
slowly over time to change into
To
him.
morph into Graham.
He wants
Kind
me to
of,
actually
yeah.
change my name to Graham Steph.
Well,
I
between
do.
your hair and then Graham's workout routine, where he just exploded, I was like, I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on with you guys.
Yeah.
Like, did you work with?
I've regressed a little bit, unfortunately.
Oh no!
Food poisoning. I just not been to the gym as much. Wow. Yeah, it's been like a week.
Are
and a
you
half.
doing okay now?
Yeah, I'm fine now.
You're just shriveling away before our eyes.
I'm down 5 pounds. Believe it or not.
Dang.
Yeah. But yeah. So the downside of those 5 pounds, half
muscle.
of that is muscle.
yeah.
That's
So
fair.
I've lost 2.5 pounds of muscle, 2.5 pounds
That's
of
the
fat.
key to not
though.
working out. I stay
Yeah.
the same consistently.
You
That's
got to eat
smart.
more then.
10 years in.
Yeah.
What can I say?